Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. It is time for another Panda palette update, and this is my face palette. So I do a couple of different Panda palette challenges on my channel. I do the kind of original Panda palette where I try to complete a palette fully. That is my soft glam and a BYOP. So it's kind of like two palettes in one. I'm also doing my Panda palette in order, which is using all my Colourpop singles. I'm trying to, hit pan on one shade at a time. And then we have this, which is the third type of video in this series, which is Panda's face palette. And I'm currently working on this palette right here, which is a MAC highlighting palette. It is called the Flashing Eyes Extra Dimension Skin Finish Trio, and I have mine in Gin Light. So I'm going to jump into the video and let you know where I'm sitting with this palette today. But before I do that, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. So I'm going to roll the footage of what this palette has been looking like. So I of course rolled this one in at the beginning of the year. It has three different shades. The first shade is like a white type of highlighter. It is quite pale on me, to be honest, so I mainly mix this one with the other shades. Then in the center, which is the largest pan, we have more of a bronzier type of shade, which has been really nice for me to reach for now in summer. It is a little bit deeper than my skin tone, but it does work really nicely for me now in summer. And then lastly we have this kind of like pinkish shade. It's like a very subtle duochrome from pink to gold, and it's really nice, and this is like the perfect type of depth for my skin tone, so this has been my most used shade. So with all of that being said, you can see what the palette's been looking like, and I started off the year kind of focusing on the middle shade because I mixed it with a different highlighter that I was panning. But closer to now, I started focusing heavily on the last shade again, just because it is such a good depth for me, and I was actually able to pan on this one, as you can see as well. So this is what the palette looked like last month. I'm making pretty good progress with it. I had originally, of course, a goal to finish all these shades, but I have changed that to finish one of the shades and hit pan on the other two shades. So that's kind of what I'm working towards now. And this is what this palette looked like today. So hopefully you can see some differences. I'm not sure exactly how much of a difference you can see, but I have worked really hard on this palette in the past month, and I have quite a few uses to share with you. So I will have the pictures up here of what the palette looks like, but this is an overview again, with all three of the shades. So we're going to start off with the first shade, which is the white shade. This one is called Glitzed Out, and currently this is my least used shade just because it is so pale. We are also in summer, so I'll be focusing more on the deeper shades because I've had a little bit of a tan and also kind of bronzing up my skin more than I normally do. So I've been focusing more on the other two shades, which is why this one is lacking. I do kind of have an unofficial goal every single month to reach for these shades 10 times each. And with this shade, I didn't quite get there. I only reached with 8 times, including today. I'm actually using this one today mixed with the center shade. So this is my 8th use today. A little bit shy, and I haven't actually been able to hit that usage goal of 10 in the last 3 months. But like I said, I think it's also because we are in summer and I'm not reaching for this kind of lighter shade that much. However, moving on to the middle shade, we have There She Glows, which is one that I'm really focusing on at the moment. So this highlighter, I'm hoping you can see a little bit of a difference in, because I have reached for this one 20 times. Again, I'm wearing it today mixed with that kind of light shade, so that's what this looks like, and it works really nice for me when I mix these two shades. But it is also a really massive pan, and these products are very pigmented, and they also bake, so they don't move that fast. But I'm hoping you can see that there is a slight dip form in the shade. I am still quite far away from pan, which is worrying me a little bit, but I am using it, like I said, a lot, so I'm doing my very best. This has also been a shade that I've been using a little bit on my body. I haven't really been out that much where I've shown like my body, or like where I felt like it was a need to highlight. But I think 2 or 3 times this month I did do that. So some of these come from that, and then some of them obviously, or most of them, come from using it on my face. But yeah, 20 uses on that shade, which I'm really happy with. Then we have my most used and my favorite shade in the palette, because it's such a good kind of easy go-to, works for me type of shade, and that is the shade Out on the Tinseltown, which is that shade that I have hit pan on, as you can see. So this is one that I can use as a blush topper. It is quite glowy, and it's not like the favorite way to use it, because it does kind of enhance texture a little bit, but it does work that way. So I have used it that way a couple of times, and I also use it mixed with other shades or as a highlighter on its own, and it is a really beautiful one. It's also a little bit more subtle, I feel like, than the other ones, which means that I can use it a little bit more heavily. But this shade I have reached for 19 times in the past month, so again, very high. And I do think, and at least hope, that the pan has expanded. You can obviously see the pan like underneath. It is It is like a, what you call a gelée type of formula, a baked formula. So it is in a metal pan, it's plastic underneath, but I hope you can still see that the pan is expanded. Like the circle bit in the pan is almost fully exposed now. So I am making really good progress on that shade, and that is of course a shade that I'm trying to finish. So that one I'm trying to finish on these two now. I'm trying to pan on and get as far as I can with. So those are the 3 shades in this palette. I'm really happy with the progress, and again I hope you can see some differences in the pictures. I think it's going to be most easy to see in that shade that I hit pan on, obviously, because that is the one that is like an easier thing to track. You have something to compare, you know, the pan size rather than a dip, because it's hard to capture just how deep a dip is in a photo. But yeah, I'm trying my best with this palette. We'll see how far I get with it in the year, and I'm hoping again I can at least finish this shade here. So with those uses being out of the way, before I wrap up the video, of course we're going to talk through the weights. So this palette weighed 99.90 grams at the introduction of the year. It does have 9 grams of advertised product, which means that I have to finish 0.75 grams per month to be on track to finishing it. Of course, I'm not planning to finish it anymore, but I always cover that in the weight updates. And then talking through what I have finished up so far in the year. In Q1, I was able to finish up 0.53 grams, so just over half a gram. It wasn't the best, but yeah, I wasn't using this one as much because I was finishing a different highlighter in my yellow product pan, and I also used it more lightly back then. Then in Q2, I was able to increase that a little bit. I had finished up that first highlighter, I believe, or I did it early in Q2, and also I've been able to use it a little bit more on my body throughout the summer. So I used up 0.79 grams in Q2. Then in July, which was last month, I was able to finish up 0.58 grams, which was my highest month by far. Again, I think that's because I used it on my body quite a bit. And I also realized that I could start using that pinky shade as a blush topper a bit more, so I used it a lot that way. So at that point, the palette weighed 98 grams even, which is again last update. And today the palette weighs 97.62 grams, which means I was able to finish up 0.38 grams in the past month, which again is very high. It's not as high as in July, but overall I'm still happy with that. I think that's like slightly lower weight is because I haven't used it for it on my body as much. And not like as heavily. I haven't been using it as a blush topper either as much as I did in July, which probably means that the weight is a little bit less. But 0.38 grams is still really good. It is my second highest month after last month, so definitely keeping up with a higher usage every single month, which I'm glad to see, because that makes me a little bit more hopeful that I can finish this palette, or not finish it, but hit all my goals before the end of the year. And yeah, that's kind of like the weight. Just to summarize as well, I have now also finished 2.28 grams of product, and again there is 9 grams of advertised product in here. So how much is that percentage wise? Let me just do the math quickly. That is about 25% of this palette I have now finished up. So, you know, it's not like near, because we almost, like, we have 1 month left of Q3, so we're almost 75% through the year. So definitely not nowhere near finishing this palette, and I think this kind of gelée formula does take longer to finish up, but I'm still happy that I'm making good progress on it. And of course this shade kind of is smaller than like this one, so it's not even 3 grams per product. So technically I would say that by now I would have at least used equal product to finishing one of these smaller ones up, which again I am pleased to see, and we'll see just how far I get with this one by the end of the year. So that is going to be my quick update for my Panda Face palette. I'm going to continue working on this palette and see what I can do in the next month. I'm going to continue focusing a lot on the center shade while we still are in the warmer months. We are of course heading into September, which is getting out of summer, which is quite sad. I feel like the summer have just kind of slipped away from me, because I've been, you know, I was heavily pregnant, and then I was in my baby bubble, so I feel like this summer kind of slipped away from me, but I will continue using this shade because I will continue bronzing a little bit more still in September. But I think when October hits, I'm not going to highlight my body as much, and I'm also going to kind of move away from such heavy bronzy looks, and then I think this shade is going to be utilized more. So I'm going to continue using this one. I'm going to also continue using this shade here. I am really determined to have this one out sooner rather than later, so I can continue just focusing on these two, because I think when this one is done, what is going to be best for me to do for that like autumn winter time is to use mix these two shades, which means I can get a lot of use on these two together as soon as this one is done, because this one I can't use on its own. So I would also try to use this one a lot as a blush topper, because I know that I get more use of that product that way, even though it's not my absolute favorite way. The blush I am panning in my Yellow Product Pan, which I wear most of the days, which I'm also wearing today, that is a matte blush. So if I do want a glowier blush, this is a really good way to get it. So I'll try to do that a couple more times, and again, you see how far I can get. But with that, you guys, I'm gonna wrap up this video. I hope you guys are having an absolutely amazing day wherever you are, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye guys!